Hi, everyone, and welcome to today's Wildcard Wednesday on best practices in advanced and custom reporting. So glad you could join us today to take a fresh look at creating reports that are meaningful to you. And we've got a really nice big audience, so this is going to be really exciting. I'm glad that you're all here. So my name is Sue Miller, and I am a Senior Program Manager here at Geotab and your host for today's expert session. My bet is that you will have questions during the presentation, and as they come to you, just put them into the question box and we'll make sure they get answered at the end of the presentation. So our speaker today is one of my favorite subject matter experts, Ricky Rivera, Senior Customer Success Specialist in Customer Experience. So we're going to move right into the presentation, and Ricky, please take it away.
All right, thank you so much, Sue. And hello, everybody. Hope you're having an awesome day. I do appreciate you guys coming in today. Just a little background on me. I've been with Geotab about 4 to 5 years actually approaching, and I've had the pleasure of working with customers ranging from the thousands to 10,000s of devices all the way down to small fleets with 50 and under devices. And I hope that with that information, you feel that from this actual presentation, you can actually take a lot from in just taking a look at reports and tweaking them and customizing them to your database, what you need out of them. That's what this is meant to be, something that you can take away very quickly and make quick updates as needed. And a lot of my peers call me a report guru. I don't call myself that, but over time, it's just happened. So I take it and run with it. So let's get right into our agenda and what we're looking at today. So first, we're going to talk about our objective. I'm going to show you also some current resources that are available. I want you to have more than just this presentation as a takeaway. We're going to talk about common use cases for custom reports. So basically, why should we be able to customize reports? Why is that important for you? We'll talk about how does Geotab data work overall, so that way you can kind of understand how we're digging through and finding the right template, which we'll get into, downloading, customizing, and then editing those templates. And finally, we'll end off on uploading your new template and how you can start testing your own reports. We'll have plenty of time for questions at the end, so looking forward to any questions you might have there. So with our objective today. So by the end of this, I want you to be able to look at any report that's on your Geotab database, be able to download it and say, hey, is this working exactly the way I need it? Is there things that maybe I need to take out? Is there some tweaks that I need to make? And how can I do so? So we want to be able to equip you with that and add value to you, so that way you can feel very comfortable with making those tweaks. So current resources. So I want to challenge everybody on here to watch these 4 videos. They are free, they are on YouTube, and the top one's about 30 minutes long. The part 1 of 3 at the bottom there, Mastering Advanced, is about an hour long each part. So what are we asking for? About 3.5 hours or so. What is 3.5 hours now up front, so that way you don't have to ask your peers, you don't have to ask any support or anything like that. You can just get your customization done. These are going to get much more in detail than our time allows for today. And they were produced very professionally by Angie Milne, Ben Pulowski, and our Wildcard Wednesday team. So with that said, I really encourage you to, once you get a copy of these links, to be able to go ahead and watch those. And you can get a lot more understanding of how to get even more customization done. From there, let's talk about why we should pay attention today. Why are we here, right? These are about 6 different categories of some of the most frequently asked for customizations that I've had over the years, from small fleets all the way up to those super large fleets. One big one lately is everybody wants to go green. Everybody wants to save on fuel. They want to actually see their idle costs overall. But a big part is adjusting the estimations of fuel, either gallons or liters, to the price that you're actually acquiring it to. So this is going to talk about how you just quickly make that adjustment in those reports that may already be on your database, so that way they relate to how much you're paying for fuel. Engine faults. A lot of fleets are looking at different kinds of faults. Some things are more important than others, but some faults are being shown, and there's hundreds of them on the same report. So maybe you don't need to see hundreds of faults. Maybe you just need to know when your check engine lights are on. So deleting either extra columns or making sure that you're only picking one kind of fault at a time is a quick tweak and quick customization that's asked for. Now, how many on here have actually gone out and made their own custom rule? I'm sorry, I can't see you. I can't see your hand raised, but I want you to really think, have you made a custom rule before? How many times have you just wanted to have a report just on one rule sent to you weekly, monthly, or whatever makes sense for that rule? Maybe it's something a vehicle or driver's in a certain zone, or they're speeding at a certain rate or a certain area, whatever it is, or even just to graph some trends and see over months how many times those rules are being broken. Very, very frequent requests building a report just based off of breaking a rule. Max speeds is an awesome report already available off of Marketplace and most databases. But with it, sometimes customers want to know exactly where that max speed was hit. I'm sure everybody wants to know where somebody hit 96 miles per hour or higher, right? So with that said, being able to actually get a report that is instead looking at the exact trips on the breadcrumb trail on where they actually hit the max speeds. Safety scorecard, I'm sure many of you are familiar with the safety scorecard, or you and your team have actually built out your own version of it. So being able to edit the weights of the safety scorecard, how much one rule is weighted against other rules, very crucial to your driver policy, how you go out there and coach your drivers, and how you actually provide information out to your managers so that way they can appropriately coach their drivers as well. And finally, the watchdog report, a lot of customers have changed the parameters for the number of days offline. Maybe 1 to 3 days of being offline is normal for your fleet. Maybe you shut off the actual battery over the weekend, so you don't need to know when it's offline for 3 days. You need to know when it's offline for 7 days, and that's a problem. So being able to make a quick tweak to the watchdog report to change the number of days offline. All of these are ideas, and by the end of this, I hope that you can actually see how you could quickly change some things on reports, so that way you can make those corrections for you and for your fleet. So let's look at how Geotab data actually works. I really want everyone to imagine a gigantic Excel spreadsheet. And if you're not an accountant or an Excel guru or anything like that, that's okay. I just want you to imagine just a sheet that has thousands of columns of data. And that's essentially what our backend kind of looks like when it's trying to pull and present to you data per individual report itself. So maybe you're pulling a trip history report, maybe you're pulling an exceptions report, whatever it is, it's taking specific columns in that gigantic spreadsheet and formatting it and giving it to you. Remember this point, as I'll probably bring it up a couple of times as we look at some custom reports, but that's essentially how each individual template or individual report is actually providing you its data. It's pulling from that main Excel spreadsheet. And today we're going to talk about how to choose the right template so that way you can save time and choose the right one to get started on, and then start making customizations off of that template. With that said, let's dig into finding the right template. So my Geotab already has a lot of default reports available to you, covering a multitude of different actual areas, right? Whether it's just a vehicle report, an engine faults report, and so on, as we've discussed, there's a lot of different reports available. So we wanted to actually show you a couple of resources available. The first here being the quick reference guide. You'll have access to all these links by the end of this as well, so just so you know. But the quick reference guide is going to lead you to a public document where you can actually see an entire listing of all the different available reports here, from engine and maintenance to safeties, hours of service log reports, all those. And why we're showing this off is because we want to be able to show you that these are all the default reports that you can go ahead and download and you can customize. Okay, so again, free resource available. The only downside of this is we just don't have any photos. So with that said, there is an awesome Wildcard Wednesday presentation about a year ago now by one of my peers that actually has a lot of different photos available. So we're also going to send you a link to this. It's still a public presentation for you. But in this, you can actually see what it looks like before you download, right? Before you buy, kind of thing. But it also will tell you what data is available in that specific report. Right here, I'm looking at the customer visits report. What's actually in there? It has zone information, vehicle, time of arrival and departure, and duration spent in zone. So for you, take a brief moment and think about, okay, what kind of data am I trying to present? And maybe then I can look for the template that already has that data available, and then you can go from there and tweaking, customizing, and getting that ready to go. Okay, so that's how you can find the right template. Now, how to actually get them downloaded. There's a couple of different avenues of actually downloading actual reports. In most cases, most of you are going to look at your dashboard, and you're going to see that there's a dashboard report that you really like. Maybe it's a safety scorecard, maybe it's an idle cost report, whatever it is. You're gonna like that report, and you're gonna say, hey, I wanna kind of change that report around. So with that, you would want to go to Administration, Reports, and Dashboard. And that's where you can actually find all of your reports that are already showing on your dashboard. So let's take a look at this. So this is just a tester database. If you see anything strange on here, it's just a database that my peers are using, okay? So forgive me on that. But with that, let's go to Administration. Let's go to Report Setup. Let's go to Dashboard. So the reason why we're going to dashboard again is because this is where all of your reports that are on the dashboard are already showing up. You'll actually kind of see that on the right here, you see dashboard and a colon. And if you see these kind of as a pair right here, that means it is showing on your dashboard. So it is something that you can actually open up, and you can actually go ahead and download the template as well. What about if you see something on your dashboard, but you don't see it here? Maybe in this list, right? If you don't see it, there's a button up here called Show All Types of Reports. Let's go ahead and click that for now. And you're going to see a multitude of reports available for you that more than likely aren't showing on your dashboard. They're not set up. You see how it doesn't have that little dashboard and a colon right here. So it's not actually showing on your dashboard. But that doesn't mean that you can't go into it, edit that template, and then get it going on your dashboard, or maybe just emailing to yourself, maybe like this report is. For now, I'm going to scroll back up, and I'm going to hit that button again just to maybe limit our list. For our presentation today, I'm going to be going over the speeding violations report. So all I'm going to do is type in speeding, and here it comes out, the speeding violations report. So in this case, I really like this report. I'm going to show you what it looks like right now, and then I'm going to talk about how we can actually add some more data to it or kind of make some edits to it. So I'm going to click on the name of speeding violations right here. And right here, you're going to see all of the settings for the dashboard and how much data it's going to be pulling. We're going to come back to this as we re-upload and test our actual report. But for now, again, we're talking about downloading templates. You can hit this export button, and that will allow you to actually download the actual template that was used to base your report off of. The template will likely never have any of your own information or anything like that in it. It'll always be basically, you know, John Smith, or it'll be vehicle 1 or something like that. It will be a very basic report that doesn't have any of your information in it. Okay, so this is one way of downloading reports. Another way of downloading some templates, if you go to something like the vehicle tab, I wanted to make sure everyone has seen this button right here. It's actually your report dropdown. So all of these tabs are going to have this report dropdown available. If you click on it, you're going to see standard and advanced. Now, standard and advanced, the main difference between the two, standard has a lot of columns that are hidden. They're just hidden away to make it a little bit easier on your eyes to look at. So in most cases, you may want to download advanced, see what's available in that report, and then tweak it as needed based off of our conversation today. So if you ever need one of those, you can go ahead and download them. But again, they are available in any of the other tabs that have a report available for you. And also our marketplace does have a lot of free reports already ready for you. So I hit marketplace, and you go over to shop and custom reports. These are free reports that are available for you to download, and they're made by Geotab. But this is just in case, what if you edit a report so much and it's beyond saving and you kind of want to restart over? That's one way of doing it. That you'll find things like the safety scorecard. You'll see things like the watchdog report that's available in there as well for you to download and kind of start over if you ever need to. So from there, let's go ahead and open up the template that we have, and we're going to dig into some tips on actually customizing that report. So the default speeding violations report here, it just shows the number of times that the driver would actually break the actual event, the rule itself, and then a speeding percentage. So just a quick highlight, this is just the mileage of distance speeding divided by the actual total distance traveled for that time period that they're pulling. So the reason why I'm bringing this up is because I want to dig into some of the basics of my Geotab reporting so that way you can feel very comfortable with it in what you're doing and what you're editing. Let's look at the bottom left here. You're going to see that there's a summary button and there's a report button. There's also sometimes a data tab. More than likely it's going to be hidden for you and you may need to actually unhide it if you want to see it. But we'll dig into that in just a second. The summary tab always has some kind of pivot table available for you so that way you can take a look at your data in just a quick chart. Again, very easy on the eyes. And usually there's a graph available. If you don't see a graph, you can always add it in if you need to. The report tab has all of the actual raw data of your report. And you're going to notice that all these columns are usually going to line up with what you saw in the pivot table. Pivot table is designed to just take all this data and put it into a quick chart right here. Okay, so speeding events, speeding percentage, and so on. With that said, there is a hidden data tab. So let me show you that. I'm going to right click on the bottom here and unhide. And here is a data tab. So this data tab is, remember we talked about how Geotab data works. It's a giant Excel, so it's pulling certain columns just to present to you the certain data right here. In this case, it's these certain columns right here, the total distance traveled and how many times they broke that entire rule. I'm showing this to you so you understand how the report is getting its data, but I do encourage you not to edit these words up here, because if you do, unfortunately, your report will stop working. It won't be able to connect back to the server to actually pull that specific column for you. But at least now you know this is where the raw data is and what it's actually available on the report. So let's go back to summary. So on this, some quick kind of tweaking to the pivot table. If you're not familiar with the pivot tables, I do encourage you to, again, look at those other resources that I talked about in the beginning, because it dives very much into all about editing pivot tables. But to make some quick tweaks, let's just say I wanted to see the speeding distance that all of my drivers actually took, and I want it in a new column that's showing right here in the middle. So if as long as I'm clicked anywhere on this pivot table, I'm going to look up towards the middle here. And there is a tab called Pivot Table Analyze. You're going to want to click on that, and you're going to click on Field List. So Field List, this controls everything that is inside of the actual pivot table. So everything that you're actually showing on there, you can hide things, you can take things away, and you can add things to it. Okay, if you don't see this on the right, you may again just need to go to Pivot Table Analyze and click that button so that way it actually shows. So like we talked about, we're going to add speeding distance over into our actual columns here. So I'm going to click it and I'm going to drag it over to values. So this is very bare bones basic of what kind of edit you can make, but essentially what it's doing here is now it's actually added all the total distances of speeding in my sample data that I have available. But a couple of things here kind of looks a little silly, right? This graph is actually blocking it, so I'm just going to make this a little wide. And then I'm just going to center this. So I'm clicking this whole thing and changing some of the formatting. So that formatting will stick for you, but you see these numbers as well. The decimal points are huge, so we don't obviously want to show all that. So let's show you one more quick item here to actually edit any of the formatting of these numbers here. As long as I'm clicked in here, I can still have the pivot table fields loaded up. And you're going to find the new field you just added in, sum of speeding distance. And I'm going to left click on it and hit value field settings. So this is a very important part here because this is going to allow you to actually edit the actual data that's in there, what it looks like, and what is it doing for you. So now I'm just going to look at this and you're going to see that it's already summing up the data, which is perfect. We want the total amount of distance that they were speeding for. But there's other items available like averaging, min and maximum, and so on. Those are ones that you can kind of play around with to see what works for you. But for now, sum is going to work perfect for us. But again, we want to lower the amount of decimals here. So I'm going to click this button, number format. A lot of customers miss this, that you can actually change the formatting of the data that you're showing. So that's why I wanted to make sure we go over this so that way you can see how you can quickly edit these. In this case, I just wanted to show as a number, and I just want to have 2 decimal places. It's more than enough for the mileage that I'm trying to pick up on this actual report. So with that, it's already set up. I'm going to hit OK here and OK here, and you're going to see those decimals disappear for us. So this was just a quick edit here. With that, I'm going to go ahead and save this report. Now, a couple important things, quick tips here. Wherever you save your report is where the graph is going to show on your dashboard. So if I go to the report tab and I had clicked save here and then I try to upload this report, it's going to try to show the top left corner of this report, and it's not going to really show you a graph or anything. It's just going to show awkwardly just this corner on your Geotab dashboard. But if you're on the summary tab and you have an actual graph, it will try to pull that graph for you. So make sure you save that. Another quick tip here is in this pivot table, I often get asked by customers, hey, why is it that my data is not refreshing? I don't see any of my vehicles. I just see the sample data vehicles. So what might that be is that the refreshing option has been turned off on your pivot table. So what you want to do is click anywhere on your pivot table, and I'm going to right click on it, and I'm going to go to pivot table options. And in pivot table options, what that's going to allow you to do is there's a couple of quick different edits and whatnot. The most important one I'm going to refer you to, though, is the data tab. And this option right here, refresh data when opening the file. Make sure that is clicked. If not, it will not actually refresh when you actually upload the report into your database. Okay, so make sure that is set up. Another kind of pitfall that some customers actually fall into, again, having that unchecked. So make sure that is checked. So we're gonna hit cancel there. Again, I'm gonna make sure I'm saving. Let's go ahead now and transition into actually uploading this report into our actual database. So I'm going to minimize this, and I'm going to go back to the administration tab, report setup, and dashboard. So I'm going right back to where I found the actual report itself, and I'm going to again search for speeding. And in here, I'm going to go ahead and click on the name of it. And it says already for me, drop your file here or click to browse on your computer. So I could have dropped the template into here, the new one I've just edited, or I'm just going to click it. And on here, it's just going to ask me, hey, what was the report that you want? And it's this one we're working on right here. And now that's going to upload. So this is how you upload a new version of the report you've just actually edited, okay? So you can do this an unlimited amount of times. So I do encourage you to test to make sure that it is working the way that you want it. Some other things to pay attention to now that we've got this template uploaded, let's scroll down a bit here. The settings down here is going to control directly what is actually showing on your dashboard. So who do I want to see this report? Company group, I want everybody to be able to see it, totally fine. Or maybe you select just one group that you want to see. You know, individual dashboard viewers, do you want to be able to see it? Click yes on that. And then comes the data part of it. So what date range do I want for the report? In this case, this is a last week report, so I just want to see last week's data for it, so I'll hit last week. But keep in mind, maybe what do you need to see? Previous 30 days, maybe last month, whatever makes sense for you and your needs. The refresh period is going to control directly when does a new data get loaded, how often I should say. So I want this to refresh every single week. And the next run, I traditionally actually aim for the coming Monday, so Monday morning, and usually about 4 a.m. before I, go get my coffee. But that way, all the data is actually loaded up for us. So I'm just doing that. And then at the bottom here, this is going to control the additional report options as far as all the data that is showing. So I'm showing this to you because this is another common pitfall with customizing reports, especially with a rule. They forget to put a rule in there. So the report ends up being completely blank. So make sure that you're taking a look at the exception rules here if your report is that, and you add the rule that is relevant and in importance to being measured in the actual report. The run report by, we have the total option of being able to do by driver or by device. If you're an hours of service user or a key fob user, or you have drivers assigned, good way of being able to run the report by either. Most reports offer that. And then grouping by, we won't worry about that now, but if you had a lot of data, you can group it by daily, weekly, monthly as needed. So from there, you would go ahead and hit save. And that is how you not only edit your actual template, but how you go ahead and upload it. And for you, you're going to want to do that multiple times over and over again to make sure, is it actually working correctly for you? So from there, we're going to be talking about going back to our presentation here. So we just talked about uploading your presentation and adding the report back in to your database. So keep in mind, just keep on doing that over and over again and keep testing out your results and seeing, is it accurate for what you're looking for? And then we just went over making sure that you have your rules all set up correctly and the date range as well. And then testing your report. So from here, I do encourage you to try to go into different reports. Try and look at the hours of service reporting. Try and looking at the speeding reporting. What can you do? What kind of graphs do you want to show? Do you want to maybe group the data together? Eventually, you're going to be able to get to a point where you can actually edit a report to exactly your needs for something like this in the safety scorecard. Let me actually show you this report. A very frequently asked for report is, I want to know my safety scores for all the groups of vehicles that I have, if I have multiple groups, maybe North region versus South region or anything like that. So if anyone's familiar with the safety scorecard, this is usually what the report tab usually looks like. You have a bunch of safety scores here. But because of pivot tables and you being able to customize those pivot tables, you can actually break down those actual scores down by individual groups. So I could say, hey, my North region here, they're not doing so hot versus my South region here, group number 2, right? And then you can also, with pivot tables, move on further to be able to break it down by individual vehicles. Don't worry, I realize I'm going a little fast here on this actual report, but I wanted to just show you what your customization can ultimately lead to just by playing around and editing some of those reports so that way it can suit your needs more so, and to your driver policy as well. So with that said, I want to go ahead and recap what we've talked about today and what we've shown. So we've talked about the objective, we've shown you some current resources and also some common use cases for custom reports. Now we've also shared the general idea of how does Geotab data work. We've talked about finding the right template and strategies for getting the standard or advanced, even a marketplace report, or anything off your dashboard that you're already seeing, and then went into how to actually customize your template. We went over some quick tips along the way, for instance, making sure you're saving where the graph is. That way the graph actually shows on your dashboard. And then we just went over uploading your reports and testing your reports. I do want to encourage everyone here to make sure that they're signing up for Wildcard Wednesday presentations. There's also a new website to be able to see all future presentations and to be able to save your seat in place. So this link's going to be available for you, but it's a quick website for you to be able to see what's going on in the future for you to be able to attend. But with that said, I want to thank you guys so much for your time and turn it over for any questions.
Well, thank you, Ricky, for such a detailed and clear presentation. Our reporting capabilities seem really unlimited, and I particularly like your coaching tip, which you gave many, but to not change the titles of the data columns so that your reports don't break. That's a pretty important one too. So we do have a couple of questions. The first one is there a way to hide or archive a report that is no longer being used?
Yeah, you can absolutely do that. If you go into back to administration, report, and then either wherever you're finding it. So this is, keep that in mind, report views, dashboard, or email, but let's just pick on maybe this watchdog report. You see on this test database, there's one with suspended devices. It's showing on this particular database because someone has set it up to show on the dashboard, but the moment that I turn off the dashboard view of it, it will no longer show on the dashboard, and technically it will be actually hidden away. If you don't want anyone to ever be able to download it again, you can actually remove the entire report. But I would encourage, before you do that, you back it up, maybe save it onto your own hard drive locally, so that way you have at least that backup. So let me just show you real quick. If I click on this and I hit no here, and I hit save, that will technically hide it from anyone being able to see it. They won't be able to pull it on its own or anything, and it won't show up on the dashboard. But just for my peers, I'm going to leave that open, okay? But to my point I made about backing it up, hit the export button, and you see how it downloaded it. I would make sure you save that just in case you hide, archive, delete it, and it was somebody else's report that they were using.
Excellent, thank you. So got a question here. Somebody was following along on their dashboard. Thank you. And they commented that it does not have the marketplace option. How do they get that tab?
Yeah, with that, you're going to want to speak with your reseller. They may have specific marketplace opportunities for you, or third-party providers that they're going through. So you'll definitely want to speak to your reseller on that to kind of address that and make sure that's showing, or what are the options for you.
Okay. And then how can I delete a wrong report from the database?
Yeah, so that could be very similar to right here, right? Being able to see, okay, this one is actually the incorrect one. It shouldn't be in use or anything like that. So again, you're going to want to go to admin report setup and either dashboard, email report to report view, wherever you want to look to it, and go in, click on its name, and go ahead and hit remove here. So that will actually remove it from your database. But again, make sure you back it up and you double check somebody else isn't getting emailed it or anything like that.
Very good. So can we add additional columns to the data tab? For example, if we'd like to see odometer readings in an exception report.
Yeah, that's a great question. It is possible to add columns to it. When I showed you the data tab, you can actually take some of those columns and put them into other reports. However, here's the caveat. Unfortunately, not all of those columns are going to be compatible with the report that you're pulling. So for instance, sometimes a vehicle report is not going to have the same data sets available to them from the exceptions report, let's just say. And so with that, you can try to actually literally copy and paste them into the data tab and the data column and re-upload it. So you're testing the report to see if it actually does pull it. We do have a report header document available. Let me share that with Susan so that way she can get that distributed out. But there is a report header document that basically says what are all the report headers that are available, those specific gray banners that you saw, that you can actually add to every individual template report. So whether it be the vehicle tab or exceptions report or anything like that.
We do have one last question. Are we able to customize reports when we use the report wizard?
Yeah, great question. So the report wizard is going to have templated reports, so very not standard reports, but are reports that come with my Geotab. So things like the watchdog report, things like the safety scorecard. After those are uploaded via the report wizard, they're going to appear here, business as usual, meaning that you can actually go in, click it, you can download and export the actual template, and feel free to edit that and re-upload them back in. So the wizard really just installs a report on your database, but after that, you can feel free to go ahead and tweak those reports that are already coming through anyways.
Fantastic. Well, you know what? That's a wrap on the questions that we have, but I would ask everybody to just take a quick moment to tell us what your top 3 areas of primary interest are. We will use your input to generate future topics for the remainder of 2021, which I can't believe we're already over halfway through. And if you would like to have a specific presenter, like Ricky, come back, or a very specific topic covered, like perhaps working with pivot tables and your data, please be sure to use the comments section in the survey that's provided at the end of this session. So I'm going to close the poll, and wow, productivity, fleet optimization and safety are definitely our 2 main ones. So I really appreciate that. And again, if you would be so kind, if there's something really specific within those categories that you want us to cover, please use that comments section in the survey, because that would really be helpful to us. So that's a wrap. I want to thank everyone for your input. And thank you again, Ricky, for sharing your expertise. So until next time, I'm Sue Miller, and on behalf of myself and everyone here at Geotab, thank you for joining us today. And we'll see you all next time. Same Geotab time, same Geotab channel.